This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live, where I had this whole elaborate April Fool's joke planned out, where I was going to use my old graphics. I was going to pretend it was 2017. We were going to do all kinds of 2017 news. I had 2017 car chases ready. Well, I can't. It's not a thing anymore if we have to cover something that's happening now. Curators are sitting right here. In minutes, Cory Booker is going to unseat Strom Thurmond. DJ Dub says, don't bother with Booker, he ain't worth it. That's what I said last night when Media Winch said, hey, did you know Cory Booker was speaking on the Senate floor? And I was like, Cory Booker is boring as fuck. And that's exactly what this is, DJ Dub. It is a stunt. He is going to run for president in 2028 if we have some kind of an election in 2028. And the first stop is the South Carolina primary. And this motherfucker is going to go, oh, I got rid of Strom Thurmond's record in the Senate. And that's what he's going to run on. He's going to try to have the black vote to catapult him in the 2018 Democratic primary. That's why he's doing this stunt. But he is about 15 minutes away. I think it's 7:24. So maybe about 20 minutes away. At 7:24, he breaks Strom Thurmond's record. So we're going to have to watch this shit. So that's why I had to ditch my April Fool's joke. Enjoy the flashback to the old graphics the way the show used to be. Before, I think it was an improvement, but I do like this shit. This shit is fun. I enjoy the look. There is no due process. We have so many other news stories to cover. Maybe we'll get to them. Maybe we won't. Who knows? We're going to cover Cory Booker here. I'm going to smoke some weed with Curiouser. And I got a free chair. You see? Yeah, she's sitting in the other one. I got 2 free chairs. Free chairs. Yay. There's a chair in my apartment. We don't think they smell like piss. We cleaned them. Not the kind of chair that I would want. Is there a cat? There's a cat at the chair. Cat gets in the chair now. So perfect place for the chair. I'm living like a civilized human being. They're chairs from a funeral home. That's exactly what they are. I've got Cory Booker. Cory Booker's on my 4K right here next to my head. And he's very animated at the moment. He's trying his best. He has just crossed the 24-hour mark. He's doing jazz hands. He's just crossed the 24-hour mark. Let's go to it.
But then he got better and went back to teaching Sunday school, and I thought, this man is in his 90s. I need to go to Sunday school.
What?
Who do I know? Because there's a waiting line. It's like people sleep out all night. I might have been a little selfish. How do I know I can get in? Call John Lewis. I say, hey, I got this great idea. Why don't we go to Jimmy Carter to watch him teach Sunday school? So I have the singular greatest road trip.
I got a milkshake for this occasion, too.
We get into a car, and we drive all those hours to Plains, Georgia. Indeed, people were waiting outside, but it's John Lewis. Come on in. We sit in the front row. I must be in the front row. And we sit down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just rambling at this point.
Incredible moment comes. Somebody comes and says, Congressman Lewis, Senator Booker, the president, First Lady would love to see you beforehand. It's my first time meeting President Jimmy Carter. But I walk in, I'm sort of on the side.
Kangaroo hands.
Hugging each other. He and the First Lady.
The First Lady.
Whisper for a second, and Jimmy Carter walks over to me and says, I hear you're thinking about running for president of the United States. And he does something incredible. He says, I think you should run, but only if you run, and he pokes my heart.
Well, here's the thing, DJ Dub, and to update you guys, he's not protesting anything in specific. He's not holding up a bill or anything.
I've had these powerful moments. The last time
Yeah, he's just doing a protest speech. Like, the House isn't in session. They're not voting on anything. This isn't in regard to a specific piece of legislation.
That it won't be long now.
He's doing it as
John Lewis is going to pass very soon.
a form of protest, but it honestly is a campaign setup. This is a stunt for 2028.
To have your moment to say goodbye to him. And what do I do? What do I do?
And him talking about John Lewis here, at the moment everybody's going to be tuning in to watch it.
What do you do to say goodbye to him? I wasn't prepared. I can't say I said anything eloquent. Michael Collins, God bless you, man. You put the phone by his ear and you just gave me my time.
Dip. What kind of Democrat is Cory Booker? Probably to the right of Kamala.
The man that changed my life, that helped my family get into a neighborhood that loved me and cherished me. God love Harrington Park.
Chat, do you agree? Do you disagree? Be honest.
Heaven brought him home. The man that showed me.
Oh yeah, I think he's totally spoke out against trans people. I'm almost certain.
It wasn't about him. It was about them. The man that brought me to see a president who flattered every senator's ego, tell them what they want to hear, run for president. And so I said everything I could, but the last thing I said I remember very well.
This milkshake is amazing.
And I said, John, I know you're going to be in heaven looking down on us.
Like, I'm sorry you guys are not
I promise you,
drinking this milkshake.
That I will do everything possible, that we'll do everything possible to make you proud.
Big old chunks of fudge and peanut butter. T-minus. Fire resist. Socialist Dawn, welcome in.
The civil rights generation is starting to be called home.
Cory Booker is on a drug rant.
Leaders are leaving us. We in the CBC have lost a lot of...
He ruined my April Fool's joke.
And I can't remember forget the promise I made to John Lewis with all that he gave me, with all that he gave his country, that I said we would make him proud. And so this is one of those moments that John Lewis...
Yeah, why would you stage this on April Fool's? It seems
He would be called
absurd.
me up and say, you still got that Facebook thing? I go, no, I don't really use Facebook anymore. But there's a thing called TikTok or...
Curister is over here advocating stealing the door behind Booker because she thinks it's so nice.
He said in 2017, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know what he would say, but John
He really likes that door.
Would say something. He would do something. He wouldn't treat this moral moment like it was normal. John Lewis knew what King said, that what we have to repent for, all of us here will have to repent for, is not just the vitriolic words and violent actions of so-called bad people.
So we're about 15 minutes away, guys. Buckle up.
Is the appalling silence and the inaction of good people. This is our moral moment.
I have no idea.
This is when the most precious ideas
isn't that the wizard dude on Harry Potter?
And the question is being called,
with the hair?
Where does the Constitution live?
Hodor?
On paper or in our hearts? This is the moment. Generations get them.
Not Harry Potter.
Crossroads here, folks.
Oh, okay.
Healthcare is on the balance. Veterans are
not Hagrid, Hodor.
Priorities.
This sounds Willis.
Priorities, America. More tax cuts disproportionately going to the wealthy. Greater
Sparkles, you aren't going to believe this. She asked me where we were going. She didn't plug up her GPS. She's like, "Is this the road?" And I'm like,
into good.
No idea. Why are you asking me?
Save the soul of America. But you all know, John, don't hate each other. Don't let anybody pull you so low as to hate them. I said this about the presiding elder. Different parties, but he showed me an act of kindness during this speech. He and I have talked about energy policy. He has amazing ideas. I want to partner with him. Don't hate anybody. Did the folks in Birmingham, did Martin Luther King, Fred Shuttlesworth, Dorothea Cotton, James Bevel, Did they bring bigger dogs?
Shuttlesworth, what in the fuck?
Match the sheriff's Bull Connor, thank you. I've
Went
been
to the old
standing here a long
Shuttleworth
time.
residence.
They didn't do that. They were creative artists of activism. They called to the conscience of a country.
He does seem to be on some sort of stimulant. His eyes are...
focus on hate.
Or he could just be like...
It's possible in America if we redeem...
When I get really tired, I have to like hold my eyes open like this, you know, to make sure they don't...
That's what they demanded.
So he might be doing that too.
Didn't go to the march...
He got some
list of grievances against...
popping eyeballs.
...in our country. He went there and called to the conscience of a country. He said he had a dream. That's what we need in our generation.
This is supposedly, you know, a historic moment that will go down in textbooks right now. Here I am cracking jokes about the motherfucker.
There is a man in the White House who's the most powerful man in the land.
Oh yeah, he's invoking like all the names, right? Martin Luther King and John Lewis.
But as long as this is a democracy, that we can still protect the power of the people is greater than the people in power if they use their power. As a great African-American woman author once said, the most common way people give up their power is not realizing they have it in the first place. I've been calling out names, folks, to tell them they have power. I read the stories of Deanna, of Wendy and Cassie, of Tanya, of Cameron, of Jean, of Susan, of Edna, of Randy, of Dylan, of Teresa, of Pamela, of Sally, of Mike.
A little bit of Monica in my life.
Of Elizabeth, of
Sarah, a little bit of Herrick.
Maggie, Nibel, Laura, Michael, Robin, Mary, Allison, Ash, Roseanne.
That's not my name. That's not my name.
Anthony, Sean, and so many more. I read their stories here because while we were elected, they are the power of our country.
Yes, Dip. He passed Bernie like 4 hours ago.
Both parties have
or 5 hours ago. I can't keep up with it. He is getting ready to surpass Strom Thurmond as the longest.
Anchor us to our ideals. What will call us to new heights. Lift our heads. Lift our hopes. What will call us to rise is each other. We need each other. We need a greater love in this country. We need a greater fight in this country. We need a greater determination. We can't act as if this is normal times. These people's stories that I wrote were calling out for help. Senator, help me. Someone help me. I'm in danger of losing my health care. Someone help me. I'm a veteran. Look what happened to me. It's not fair. I fought for this country.
Marvel? What Marvel?
Social Security and the rural office I go to is being closed. Help people.
Marvel. Oh, I thought you said Marvel, like Marvel movies. We were doing like X-Men or Spider-Man up in here.
They built
Yeah, where's Captain America at?
The greatest project ever, called it the Underground Railroad, where Quakers, white folks, joined with black folks to shuttle people to freedom.
Captain America's Marvel, right, guys?
Worried and fearful.
I think so.
They called.
It's in the Avengers and all that bullshit.
Let's have a conference. Let's go to
I've
Seneca
never
Falls.
watched.
What
There's
did
too
they
many of
do
those goddamn movies.
when they faced?
Oh, don't tell me it's good. I'm not watching it.
Look at the people at Stonewall who stood up.
I am not watching White Lotus.
Organized. Who won? What do they do when the dogs are on?
Okay, like I might grab Media Winch and watch White Lotus one time on stream. I have not.
I'm getting close to a record, folks, but
Shelly, he has been talking since 7 p.m. yesterday. The record is 2 hours and 24 minutes. Are they clapping because they think he's broke the record now?
there's a room here in the Senate named after Strom Thurmond.
I think he's got 7 more minutes.
To hate him is wrong. And maybe my ego got too caught up that if I stood here, maybe, just maybe I could break this record of the man who tried to stop the rights upon which I stand. I'm not here, though, because of his speech. I'm here despite his speech. I'm here because as powerful as he was, the people were more powerful.
Wikipedia says he's broke it.
But I remind you all
that applause must have been when he broke it.
Turn again to John Lewis, because you all know the story, my colleagues, of when the man that beat him savagely through blood, cracked bones.
Wikipedia lists him as the longest filibuster. I thought it was
grandson with him to ask
at 24 after
from John Lewis. I heard about this story when
he just broke it.
What did you do, John? This man that so viciously beat you, wounded you, bruised you, battered you. What did you do when he came to ask you for forgiveness? What did you do? And a good Christian man of faith, simply said, every one of us needs mercy. Every one of us needs redemption. I forgave him. I hugged him.
He
wept, and I looked at the boy.
So we don't know how Booker did it. There's been speculation that he wore diapers.
John?
Strom Thurmond used a piss bucket.
Would the senator yield for a question?
That they stepped off of the
life, I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you.
I need to poop.
Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
Speak for yourself, Schumer. Shut the fuck up. Schumer's a piece of shit. We've always hated Schumer. What are you doing? Oh yeah, senators love Schumer. So anybody just joining us, Cory Booker has broke the record for the longest filibuster. Breaking Strom Thurmond's record against a bill, against the Civil Rights Bill.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Cory Booker's not protesting anything, though. This is not against a bill.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
What up, Battle Opossum?
Order.
Producer wanted to make sure that I gave you a shout. She said it, but Battle Opossum. Battle Opossum. I was letting people.
I think the best way to honor this great accomplishment to our guests in the gallery, to make a rare exception and let you stand to show your appreciation, I will not constrain my fellow senators.
Thank you. I'm Chuck Schumer. I have yielded for a question, and you asked me, did I know? I know now. I want to not quite wrap this up yet. I don't want to wrap this up yet.
I thought he had another 3 minutes, but Wikipedia says he's broke it.
Has a podium in front of her. She can give me a rest. I'd like to go a little further if we can, just a little further. I love, and again, I know people are trying to train each other, and all of our media operations, they give the worst images of the people of the other party. But I want to tell you one of the funny tweets.
Oh my God.
Staff gave me is something Ted Cruz said is he's around 19, 20 hours. He said, maybe I should pull a fire alarm. He's going to break my record. I'm going to pause in a moment if she has a question for me to Catherine Cortez Masto, because she's...
Yeah, point out how the Republicans will break the rules.
2 points to make if I can. One is how grateful I am to my staff. When we decided to do this many days ago.
Hamper the Democrats.
I
thought he was crying, but he might be snotting.
Like, we have to do this. And we started preparing and working on this, and they did an extraordinary job. They were with me late nights, writing. I just feel guilty because they wrote about 10 books, and we didn't use all of them. They were really substantive stuff, pulling from Republicans and Democrats in critique of this moment, pulling from Democrats and Republicans, Republican governors that were saying, do not cut Medicaid. States that know, as my colleagues do, that have a trigger, that if the Medicaid funding goes below 90%, they stop the Medicaid expansion. My staff really worked hard to not make this just Democratic voices, to make it people in our country, that Republicans and Democrats, you heard mentioned in the speech, the Cato Institute, the Manhattan Institute, all people who are honest arbiters and are saying that what Trump is doing is wrong, that a budget like this that blows massive holes in our deficit. It will be something our children
I got a
are
hole
trying
for you to
pay
blow.
What are they ultimately paying for that's caused this big deficit? It's trillions of dollars of tax cuts that people like Doge, multi-billionaire Musk will benefit from, but children won't. They did such a good job bringing together authorities on both sides of the aisle. I just want to thank them. I want to thank my cousin Pam and my family. Cousin Pam, like Chris Murphy, was here for the whole time. I want to thank Chris Murphy again. Who never stopped telling me we could do this, we can do this, we can do this, and said, I will stay with you. He's been with me on the floor. I hope you don't look as tired as I look, because you look beat, man. Do I look that bad? No. All right. I want to go a little bit past this, and then I'm gonna deal with some of the biological urgencies I'm feeling. But I'm going to wait here because I have the power, I have the floor. Somebody has to ask me, perhaps.
Wait, did you say you like this stream layout better?
It's supposed to work.
So will the good senator from New Jersey yield for a question?
My mom would be so upset with me, my Aunt Marilyn, my Uncle Butch, my Aunt Shirley, all the people that are your constituents, not mine. They would be upset with me if I didn't yield to you for a question while retaining the floor.
Well, first of all, Senator Booker, I have to say, we in Nevada are so proud of you. We are proud to be Nevada Strong. You are one of us. You are definitely New Jersey, Nevada Strong, and so proud of what you have accomplished so far, and willing to stay here as long as it takes to help you get your message across. And I think that's the important moment. We are all here right now. So I want to pose a question to you, actually a couple questions.
Curiouser is all turned on by her. I guess she could be my GOP mommy.
You have been here now, what, for over 24 hours.
Oh, she says the jacket.
Some of the national news, things that are happening out there. But one of the things I want to point to that is happening that you may not be aware of, and you've touched on it a little earlier today, is this notion that we have now a president who is actually focused on billionaires and tax cuts for billionaires at the expense of the American public. And one of the things we have watched him do is cut funding for medical research. Now, what you may not know is just today I found out that HHS laid off the entire healthy aging branch of the CDC, just today. This office administers Alzheimer's disease programs.
I'm sure that's going to be good, right?
Oversees the funding from the Bold Infrastructure for Alzheimer's Act, and it is a piece of legislation that I was so proud of.
Yeah, I've got like a million stories about food banks not getting
And
their
she has
deliveries.
We have fought for funding for it to support caregivers and their families. And Congress just reauthorized this funding. And now we have a president that has stopped the critical work that scientists are doing to try and cure Alzheimer's. And I bring this to your attention, Senator, because like you, and I think like all of us, there are personal moments in the work that we do. My personal moment is my grandmother, who I'm named after, died from Alzheimer's. And she died at a time in Las Vegas when there was not enough research, when there was not enough health care, when there were really not enough providers to understand what was going on. And so for many of us, this fight, not only is it personal, but we recognize the impact that it has outside the Beltway in so many families and lives across the country. And that's what this is about. In Nevada, as of 2023, there are 49,000 people, 65 and older, are living with Alzheimer's. And that's projected to reach 65,000 this year. Not only did we hear that HHS laid off the entire healthy aging branch of the CDC, but Donald Trump also recently terminated a $14,000 NIH research grant that had been supporting Alzheimer's research at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And he's continued to cut the grant for essential research for so many reasons. We've seen these funding cuts, we've seen mass layoffs, and the impoundment of grants that have already been approved by Congress. This is a violation of the rule of law, and you have been talking about that for the last couple of hours. President Trump is forgetting that this is personal. It is happening to so many families. So my question, Senator Booker, to you is, what do you think families and caregivers of those impacted by Alzheimer's, how they are feeling about what is happening right now?
So this bothers me for two reasons, and the first you've already mentioned is this is the point of bipartisan work that we do. I talked about Chris Murphy and the bipartisan gun bill that lots of people here worked on with Senator Cornyn and others, and how upset my state is that some of that community violence intervention money that I worked so hard to get in that bill is being clawed back by a president. There are people in this room, I know so many of you, and I know on the other side, that have done such great work to work with our colleagues to find...
They started eroding the rule of law when they let
really
Nixon
important
slide.
Programs passed that bring resources to families, and it's being clawed back by a president, not with consultation, not with a hearing.
Nixon should have been prosecuted, sent to jail.
You would target Alzheimer's...
Because that set the stage for what they got away with in the 2000s.
That is a...
Bound, welcome in.
And I wish my Republican colleagues would hold more hearings about that. These are programs that they like. I saw that with USAID. I worked with Marco Rubio on some of that programs and those investments that are now been cut and clawed back. So it's a separation of powers issues. It's an offense to the common goals that we share in this community of leaders. But the second reason it bothers me is an article I read hours ago by Fareed Zakaria. And he talked
Fareed Zakaria
to a nation that cuts so dramatically what is one of the best taxpayer investment dollars.
Now you're all right, I guess. I got no beef with him. It sure sounded like I did.
There's an investment that every dollar you invest, you would get.
I promise I don't have any beef with Lester Holt either.
Folks would be invested in that vehicle. Well, that's NIH funding. Every dollar you invest, who would cut a profit center? It's not just a profit center, though. The outcomes, the discoveries, could change the lives of people.
Bullied him into retirement.
In your nation and around the world. But he's attacking them. I read all these universities from around the country. This shows you how magnanimous I'm trying to be. I even read stories from USC. I'm sorry, rival. That all of these universities are cutting their postdocs, cutting their PhDs, cutting the lending because they don't know, as Donald Trump threatens, the direct costs they're stopping. And Fareed Zakaria said so painfully to all Americans with Americans' pride, as we are doing that, China, who, when they had that cultural revolution, they first went after their universities. Now, modern China, their government is doing the opposite. They're trying to out-America us. They're massively increasing their investments in scientific research because they know if they get ahead of us on quantum computing, all of our subs can be located, and God knows what could happen. They could, any kind of...
God knows what could happen if they get a hold of our quantum computing.
They know if they get ahead of us on scientific research, the power and advantage it will give them, so they're doubling down. But what are we doing in America? We're tolerating the president that is cutting the funding that will predict who defines the future and what values will define those futures. Will they be democratic values, or will it be the values of the country that's competing with us to beat us, and right now we're giving them a head start? And then the final reason that question bothers me is because my father died of Parkinson's and he had Parkinson's-related dementia. And I know what that's like.
I'm just saying I didn't have any beef with Fareed. Like I don't know anything that Fareed has done that is egregious.
My mother just shook my world. She was in Georgia. And so many people here in this room have had the same experience. We're in a movie theater and my mom leans over to me and said, "You need to take your dad to the bathroom." I
know it's a low bar, but like, has he ever raped anybody or anything?
You know, to the bathroom. That one day I'd have to take him. And so in this Atlanta movie theater, in the middle of a movie, which I was like, okay, it's time for me to do this ritual that so many families know. I pick my dad up, who's shuffling with his Parkinson's.
How dare you impugn the good name of Fareed Zakaria?
Shuffling into the bathroom. And then we get to a public bathroom. His hands are shaking. He's standing in front of the urinal. And then I realize,
what?
I got to unbuckle this man's pants. So many families know this. And my ego, I'm sorry, I was leaning over and I'm saying, wait a minute, I'm in a public bathroom, leaning over, I'm buckling another man's pants. Please, please, God, don't let somebody come in. And as if God heard my call, someone walked in.
Wait, did he suck his dad's dick? What?
Walking. Go into a stall, please keep walking. And then suddenly I hear the feet walk past me and stop. And then the man turns around and says, oh my God, Cory Booker. And then I look up at my dad and I see the clarity in his eyes.
They should make like Parkinson pants. They're like
grinning and loving,
stirrups.
Mortified embarrassment.
Hang your pants up on.
Alzheimer's?
You're looking at me funny, but that's a good idea, isn't it?
Devastating so many American families who are watching the loved one of their lives diminish.
Like, I don't know. I'm not the technical wizard here. How to go through with this?
Democratically,
if it's attached to you, or if it's a little stand that you put down.
So forget the separation
of power. It's got the things, and you put your
It's
pants
important.
up on the.
So important. If that doesn't
That
get
way,
you, then maybe think
there's
about
nobody holding your dick. Your dick's just there.
If that doesn't get you, if those two don't get you,
And the pants are held by a little device. Parkinson pants.
Think about the millions of Americans struggling with Alzheimer's. The struggles it does to those families. This is a moral moment, America. This is going to define the character of our country for years and years to come. Has the Senate called a hearing on your bipartisan funding, Senator? No. Have we?
What's he talking about?
Responsibility. Have we checked? As I read from the Federalist Papers,
Dicks and pee.
What wanted us to do is to check the executive, be the check at the executive that balances our governmental powers. No, we're not checking that executive.
Yeah, you got a socks in the chair. What do you guys think about that?
From Republicans that serve in Congress of the 535 with us, I know other colleagues here have heard. They're mortified. You talked about that. Mortified about.
Mortified.
And again, this is not partisan. The Biden administration made foreign policy mistakes.
Are you slap happy?
Policy mistakes. Reagan, when I was growing up, I was hearing about the Iran-Contra scandal. So I'm not going to be one of those people that the pristine, perfect Democrats. We've made mistakes. We've made failings. We've let the public down.
Let the
We
public
have
down.
something in our own party that we're working on right now.
No.
But that doesn't say that
Yeah,
you
it
should
is.
just be one of these
I like
people
having the
that says,
cast back there.
Biden did it. No, you should be a leader of character that says there's something wrong here, and in fact, it could point to real problems in the national security of our country. And the laws that we established. One of those laws is very simple. You're supposed to preserve records. How can a signal chain that disappears not be a violation of the law?
Apparently the Republican one in Florida, one of them.
The head of the Intel Commission, not a hearing at all.
I think that was the closer election too.
We are derelicting our duties here in the Senate. We really are. And the consequences of that is the very national security of our country. How many times do you think this was the first time they created a signal chat? Or is this a pattern of practice? You're a really rational man. I keep looking at you, Mark. You're my leader on these issues. Or Jack Reed.
Yes, Warlord was keeping us updated. Do you have an update on the other election in Florida?
The United States Senate should get
There's
to the bottom of it. This is a moral moment. I keep saying it's a moral moment. Who are we going to be? What's going to define us? And it's time not for the typical tribalism. It's time for leaders to start standing up and saying, you know what? We can go a different way. We can imagine a different country. That's why I pointed out the new speaker, the new leader.
Honestly, just went to vote.
We're a different generation. There's a rising
No, I did not.
generation of people. I've talked about my friend who wrote this great book, Abundance. There's a whole bunch of new
Abundance. Oh my God.
About the future, about the possibilities.
These
about the whole
stupid fucking
of America,
neoliberals.
Not the greatness that is braggadocious, not the greatness that says I'm better than you, not the greatness that says only.
You know how this came about? I bet they were sitting around in his office like, all right, we got to get some of the attention off of Bernie and AOC. What can we do?
An America that says e pluribus unum. An America says that our history shows that rugged individualism and self-reliance are important values, but rugged individualism didn't beat the Nazis. It didn't take us to the moon. We did that together, America. We need bigger visions that can unite us beyond our narrow partisan divides to get a real mandate. And you know what a real mandate should be? Should be government efficiency. It really should be. God, I have heard from so many of my colleagues on this side of the aisle that have said, if they formed a commission of former executives in this body, I see you, Maggie Hassan, it was hard, but I had to cut 24% of my budget. 1 out of 4 employees. It was really hard.
You see Smokey with his leg up on
but we had to reduce my
arm of the chair?
There are a lot of people here, there are executives on both sides of the aisle that would have said, pick me, let's form the most exciting team possible. Because Jack Reed knows
like a sexy pose.
The military of the United States of America can do things more efficiently.
I did not see a lurker love.
Passed an audit.
Sorry, Team Honest.
Where's Maria Cantwell? The Commerce Committee. So many ideas about how to create profit centers in the American government. You have talked to me about them. You're brilliant on some of these ideas. I look around.
Blue room.
But I could look to the other side of the aisle.
Blue room.
The farmer sitting over there. The guy who's been so good to me.
You are our lurker
I forced
love.
that man to hug me.
You don't have to say anything. I just want to give you a shout out.
I forced you to hug
Let you know that we care.
Pictures. Can't deny
We appreciate you being
here.
here.
You're going to get reelected now, sir. You hug this dude, black dude from New Jersey. You're so sweet to me still. We passed a big bipartisan bill because people like him, like the presiding officer, I've met with you, you still have big ideas. You still have big ideas that aren't partisan. If President Trump from his inaugural
I don't really get the
before a joint session of Congress said enough. There are big ideas in this country. I want the best.
Like apparently other channels like
together.
shame people for lurking,
down at
and
each other.
I don't care.
It's time for us to come together and imagine ways to create real abundance in America for all Americans. I trust the genius of America, the kindness and the decency, but this president doesn't do that. He violates all of our common senses of decency. And don't say it doesn't happen, folks. Don't say that. I listen to him. I listen to how he talks about people. We have a government now, as I said earlier, that isn't ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. We have a country now where a president says, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for Donald Trump. And you're seeing who gets the special
paradigm.
Some law firms.
What's your opinions on Cory Booker?
Right now, with being bankrupted by Donald Trump targeting them. Others have decided a different path. I'm not hating on them, but they said we're going to go to Trump and we're going to offer him what he wants. We're going to give him tens of millions of dollars of free pro bono work. I wish they would bring some of that free pro bono work to New York.
Did I say warlord? Did I ask warlord's opinion?
Folks in my city, what are the standards here of our government? You want a merger? Well, maybe you should put a lot of money in Donald Trump's meme coin. I read the document, there's something word called emoluments. And we sit by and act like, oh, no big deal. He's made millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, no, I have not watched wrestling in a couple weeks.
Hearing of oversight to know who is giving him millions of dollars to that meme coin. Is it the Turks? Is it the Saudis? Is it the Chinese?
Oh, I mean, I've watched like old wrestling. I've not watched current wrestling.
Do we know? Should we know?
Sorry, brother,
yes,
sorry.
America, stop falling into tribal lanes and closing your eyes to things that should not be normalized. Why are we normalizing these things? They're wrong. They're patently on the face of it.
But I figured that was some great advice to give to Cory Booker, you said.
To discuss.
But it was a John Cena promo.
The time the weapons that are.
I tried to drill it into your egotistical spirit skull. You have to be authentic because they can see through phony.
Reporter, there should be accountability.
Yeah, Cory.
Crazy.
Order. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just remind you, expressions of approval and disapproval are not permitted by the gallery. Thank you.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
He was forced to say that. Look at you, defiant man.
Sorry, I'm cleaning the bowl. We're going to have a nice
There
fresh
should be
bowl.
checks and balances on the President of the United States.
Gotta heat it up.
The Senate and the House should not allow business as usual in this moment when the President is insisting that no one has the power to check and balance him. When a judge does it, when a judge decides on the soundness of his legal observations to have a ruling, and then the President of the United States doesn't appeal the ruling like most people kind of do, but starts to drag and insult and threaten that judge with impeachment. And some people, astonishing to me, in our government said, oh, that's right, we should impeach this guy. That's not a question of left or right, that's a question of right or wrong. We're normalizing this behavior. We're letting him do things that Republicans and Democrats should say together are wrong. And so I want to say, I'm going to stop soon.
Well, for a question?
Oh, yes. God bless you. I will yield for a question while retaining the floor.
Thank you. I want to start, before I get to my question, with just saying how proud I am, how proud we all are of you. And I think I'm old enough to remember Strom Thurmond's filibuster. I can remember being in high school and seeing the news every night and the reporters coming from the steps of the Capitol because they were filibustering the Civil Rights Bill. And
we'll get updated on the congressional races and the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin.
And the opportunities of that democracy opens up for all of our rights, in my mind, cancels out what Strom Thurmond did to prevent African Americans and
I do the news every night, sir.
In this country. So
I mean, not every night, Sunday through Thursday, most nights.
But I really want to. You talked
around
earlier
during
this
Troll
afternoon
Patrol time. I deliver
about
news.
The rule of law and the overreach of this administration. And as part of that, you went through a litany of agencies that Congress had established that this president is trying to take away. And I just wanted to point out that, and you mentioned this earlier, one of those agencies that Congress.
Well, here's the thing: is
Agency for
I've got Curiouser sitting like right
and
here.
earlier today, we had a shadow hearing.
Oh, she just high-fived me. I was not at all wanting a high five, but I got one from her.
It was on the dangerous consequences of funding cuts to US global health programs. And I know
I'm kind of like I'm smoking
as
pot
ranking
with
member
her,
of the
so this is kind of
Subcommittee
why
on
you're getting this
African Global
content.
Health Policy, you would have really been interested in this. I'm glad you were here.
Yeah, I'm cheap. Well, it's not my normal
But I wish
time
you
yet.
heard what we heard from the people who testified.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Well, I think Booger just yielded. I don't think he's coming back.
Atul Gawande, who used to be the administrator.
She really wants me to comment on that green jacket.
USAID,
She's in love with
their
it.
global health program.
She thinks it's amazing.
We heard from David
they
Forbes,
can see
who's
it.
Vice President of Management Sciences for Health, that's a contractor that works on global health.
What comedian guy? What comedian guy does he look like?
Enrich, who's the former assistant administrator for
Jost?
global health.
No, Colin Mockery. You think he looks like
And
Colin
they started
Mockery?
out by talking about what global health has accomplished through USAID.
Okay, I
Has
can give you
saved
that.
more than 26
Looks like he could
million
be his
lives.
brother.
It's reversed the
Julie,
spread of
welcome
HIV
in.
AIDS. They've done malaria prevention and control.
Cory
for over
Booger just
half
broke
a
the
billion people.
record
They've eradicated smallpox and
for
eliminated
longest
most of
filibuster in
polio.
history.
They've reduced infant mortality by more than 59% since 1990. They've supported cholera, measles, and Ebola outbreak response. And one of the things Dr. Gawande pointed out is that they took the response to Ebola outbreak from 2 weeks. Many of us remember that during the Obama administration when Ebola was coming to the United States, They took that response
When
from
Ebola
2
was
weeks
coming to the United
down to
States.
24 to 48 hours to be in there to be responding to the Ebola epidemic. And what does this president,
We're kind of wondering where Maynard is. We haven't seen him
what
in a
has
little
Elon
while.
Musk and Doge done? They've gone in.
She's worried I might have put him in the
USAID,
closet.
They cut the global health work
Not that I put him in the closet, that he got in there. He likes being in the
without
closet.
60. They've taken the system that was designed to make programs more efficient, and they dismantled it. And when the Inspector General Paul Martin reported on food rotting in
Very
ports,
vocal when he wants something.
he was fired.
Yeah.
USAID has been the largest civilian ground force to address global goals. As Dr. Gawande said, what we learned from USAID is that prevention is a whole lot more efficient and a lot cheaper than emergency treatment. He said that what we spend on global health through USAID has been $9 a household in America in a year. $9. Think about what we've done with that $9. And as they were going through the litany of programs that have been cut, the one that caught my eye was 75% of the pandemic threat comes from diseases jumping from animals to humans. That program has been terminated. 75% of the threat of future pandemics.
Yeah.
So, as we
I
think about
understand it.
rule of law and the overreach of this president, would you
Fuzzy
agree
Simba,
with me
thank you for the resub.
that
Welcome back
there
in.
has been no consultation with Congress about any effort to move USAID into the Department of State, and that because Congress created this
You might have to
agency,
switch to C-SPAN.
Congress has got to be involved in reauthorizing
We'll get us some election coverage.
whatever comes next, and that this president and his Doge boys need to understand that before they take any
She's
more
like
steps
grunting
with
at me.
USAID.
Yes, yes, yes. You and I both know that in a bipartisan way.
Oh, I was wrong. Booker is still
essentially
here.
to keep America safe. Many of us remember that dramatic hearing where Trump's Secretary of Defense, James
I thought
Mattis,
Booker yielded his time.
sat before the American people when they were discussing the budgets for USAID and the State Department. And John Mattis knew the power of those programs to keep us safe. You mentioned infectious diseases. Well, we live in a world where an infectious disease anywhere is a threat to public health everywhere. So pulling our scientists out of the fight against Ebola, pulling our scientists out of drug-resistant tuberculosis fights, it makes no sense. And then, in terms of our safety, he just simply said, if you cut these programs, buy me more bullets, because our fight's to spread democracy. There are nations in Africa, for example, where the Chinese are trying to influence a different way of life. That's why so many African countries now won't criticize China for things that the rest of the world say are bad, because they owe them so much debt, they're so engaged, they're so overplaying the fact.
Do you want me to go get the other outside baby and show her?
About Myanmar. This horrific thing. America, the most generous country on the planet.
He's over on my side? Okay, I'm going to get the outdoor baby.
Meetings in a bipartisan way with ambassadors from other countries where we had the moral authority to tell them, you're not doing enough. And in the Myanmar crisis right now, as Chris Coons said, who's standing there? Not Americans. We don't have the capacity anymore to help in a horrific crisis like that, but the Chinese government's there. Again, it's what defines us. I keep saying this is not a left-right moment. This is a moral moment, and we tell our truth with what we do with our resources. And here's the thing. When you poll people and ask them how much money you spend on USAID, they say, oh, it must be 10% of the American budget. It must be 5% of the American budget. It's around 1% or less. A penny of what tax dollars you send down to Washington goes to help us make sure that around the globe we're countering the hard power of some countries with the power of our light and our soft power. We have been the envy of the world, where people see and know how special America is because we live the value of every major religion, that we're going to love our neighbors, we're going to be there for you in your times of need. And we all know, with a terrorist group from far away to the most horrific attack, that in a lot of these countries, terrorist groups are trying to counter the democratic governments there. Look in the Sahel region.
You didn't like that being treated
What was
like
happening?
a piece
I
of
was in
meat.
Nigeria. I was shocked to say what they're
Her
talking
owner
about.
assured me that she gets her flea
Instabilities in
treatments
the
and
north.
everything.
The threats of terrorism in the north. I'm going to go for 7 more minutes and stop, but I want to use these last 7 minutes to return
7
one more
minutes?
time
Why 7
to
minutes?
the people of my state and actually other states who demanded we do things different, who asked for help. Before I do, I just want to thank Mike Lee today. He's my partner in antitrust, a specialty of my friend Amy Klobuchar, and I don't know if you got my text, but you got it.
I am wearing divers.
I'm kind of going to the floor to hold it for as long as I can.
It'll be 8 o'clock.
And I may not.
Yes, he's going to 8 o'clock.
Committee together on antitrust, where we have a lot of common ground. So I'm sorry I missed it today. I know you'll.
Good evening, Dougie.
Filled in.
Aunt, did I tell you good evening? Torchy,
So I
welcome
wanna close
in.
back where we
It's
started.
official. He broke the record about what, 30
About
minutes
why
ago?
I'm here.
30, 40 minutes ago. It's been a little bit. We've been sitting
I
here
believe
watching
that
him
there is
for a
an
little
urgent
bit.
crisis
Yeah,
in our country
I've already
that
got.
people are not talking about. It's not a left-right.
I've already got your
crisis. It's a moral moment, and again in America. that's gonna define
C-SPAN
our character.
queued up, ready to
Who
go.
we are and what we
Randy
stand
Fine already been declared the winner against
There's a
Josh
threat to
Will
the bedrock commitments we've
in
made to
Florida's
each other as a
6th
country.
district. That was the one that I thought was
bedrock
the
commitment
most
Social
likely to
They're calling it
swing.
a Ponzi scheme. They're saying, making up absolute lies about it. When I read
C-SPAN
American
not
African
taking
Americans
calls
said that
though. They're
is
showing
their lifeline. They told stories that if
they might be coming
don't
on
get
at
their
8.
Social Security payment, or they get caught up because nobody's answering their calls, if the rural Social Security office, I read states red and blue,
yes.
where they're closing Social Security offices, if I now have to drive not 100 miles, but 150 miles at 90.
They usually have Greta in some
Makes
special
sense.
coverage. We love Greta.
One of my colleagues stood up here and said that's already cut down
Ironic, welcome in.
access to folks.
Good evening. 7 minutes in
sit
heaven
here
with
because
Cory
there's a threat to
Booker.
these bedrock
I do not know.
made.
No.
And
Not
healthcare
taking.
in this
Oh,
country.
you taking that one?
One, the defense.
Curiouser is like I'll take.
No, when you start talking about Medicaid,
You'll take
it's not
Mindy
20
Kaling's
plus million
leftovers.
Americans. It's 70, 80, 90 million.
I think like
Americans.
6 something. I think like 6.
It's our
6, 2.
elders in nursing homes. It's our children with disabilities. It's our moms giving birth
Not my type.
that are still giving birth. in a
Dragon Blood
country
Test.
with the
Welcome
highest
in.
maternal mortality rates
I got.
in the.
I do
industrial
believe we're
world. It's a
smoking. I got
moral
to pack
moment.
another
What do we
one.
stand for?
We just cast this bowl out.
Schumer shocked me when he said they're going to use some kind of budget gimmick to push this through. He shocked me, Chuck. I thought this was going to come down to the parliamentarian, but it doesn't sound like it. Now it's just going to get done. With the math, and I read from Manhattan Institute criticized it on the right. AEI criticized it on the right. They said, what are you doing? What are you
I'm
doing,
saying,
America?
would you
You're
do
gonna
7
rake
minutes in
up
heaven with Cory Booker?
trillions and
Curiouser's all about it over here. She's like, yeah, sure.
that our children
Ironic. What do you like? You going for it?
passing the
Oh.
bucks that will grow.
It
Are
can
you
be
doing that to
penetration
help
if you
people get
want,
more access to
can it?
healthcare, more access to
As
retirement
what?
security, more access
Well.
to the things we believe in. Big ideas like
Well, spin the bottle can be
Universal
penetration if you
childcare.
want.
paid family leave. No, we're doing that
I am
to renew the
infuriating
tax cuts that I read.
Curiouser.
Conservative budget folks, moderate budget folks, all across the spectrum who said it will blow up our
Slumber
deficit.
party. You don't want to know what guys did at
Benefits of
slumber
those tax
parties.
cuts, not all, let's not use hyperbole, but most will go to
Mainly
the
play
richest people in our
Legos
country who I
Or
promise
video games. We did love video games,
I
like
celebrate
overnight
people
video
who've
games.
brought their ingenuity,
Super
and their
Nintendo.
expertise, and their grit and their tireless work, who've built wealth in this country. should not be us versus them, but I'm telling you that those folks do not need another tax cut.
Combo weasel.
Corporations who came here, you all remember, said we would like a 25% rate. The people I read said that when we kicked it to 21,
I had to think there for a minute, weasel.
35.
Because I got multiple screens of. I also had Elon up over here.
Conservative.
So I was like, huh?
Said all these promises
Could be really
out of
facetious.
our deficit, they didn't materialize. All the promises that were made. Trump.
Oh, this
remember,
is where Elon
going around telling folks
offered
that,
$1 million
tariffs, this is
to
2017. My
two
tariffs, the
different
money that I get, that would be
voters.
what we could pay down the debt.
I'm curious who gets the green hit.
The math that they did was that would account for about 1/750th of the debt at that time. But he used that money to try to compensate the farmers that he was hurting with his tariffs. This is a moral moment, and people are getting hurt, and people are afraid because of the threats to Medicaid cuts. There were people writing in and said $880 billion would devastate me, but even small cuts to services, my whole family, fragile architecture of our finances. If you just pull out the transportation money that my disabled child uses, that will crumble my financial world. And so when you talk about the bigger cuts, we know the math.
Sorry, and I've got Cory Booker is like huge over here. You guys have no idea how big Cory Booker is like towering over me right now.
And millions of Americans will be hurt. That's not right, guys. That's not right. And so this is the choices we have before us. Our veterans and the VA.
Get over there.
Very emotional with your story. We read John McCain's story. We read the stories of the poems of the unknown soldier looking over us and saying, what are you doing to the Gold Star families? What are you doing to the veterans? Are you living up to your promises that you made? Well, right now, with the cuts of tens of thousands, over 80,000 veterans who work for the VA, but even more, because about 20% or so of all federal workers are veterans. And we read stories from veterans in America who are shaken by what's happening, who are losing their jobs but yet all they want to do is serve. They're not.
Here we go. This is what we've been waiting on. Let's shut Cory Booker the fuck up. Let's go to fucking Greta.
Term, and we're watching two special elections.
Quesadilla.
The 6th district and the 1st district. We have a winner declared in Florida's 6th congressional district. This is Michael Waltz's seat that he held up until he became national security advisor for President Trump. And the Associated Press has called him the winner tonight. Not all the votes in, but we are very close. President Trump congratulating the Republican on Truth Social tonight with the post, "Congratulations, Randy, a great win against a massive cash avalanche," referring to the amount of money that the Democrat there, Josh Weil, was able to raise against his opponent, out fundraising the Republican there by a wide margin. We're going to go back down to Florida. Jeff Allen with Spectrum News 13, anchor and political reporter, joining us again. Jeff Allen, let's talk about the margin that we're seeing in this 6th congressional district before we move on to the other race that we're watching, and that's in the 1st congressional district. This margin between the candidates, why is that important?
Well, right now we're looking at about a 10 to 11% victory if that holds, with just about 10% of the vote to come in on this. And normally you would say that's a pretty decisive victory. Some may even call it a landslide. But in this case, I would say Democrats may still not be hanging their heads too much about this going into this race. I talked with even the national chair of the National Democratic Committee, Ken Martin, and he told me, going into this, really, even if this race was close, even if it was a close loss, they actually would see that as a victory, in that normally in this district we've had wins by Republicans by more than 30 percentage points. Just last November, Mike Waltz, before he was brought up to the Trump administration, he won this seat by more than 30 percentage points. So again, that is a much larger margin, and Democrats will likely see this as a bit of a victory, and that it was a closer race, and they feel that's attributed to what they feel like is disapproval of so far this second Trump term.
What do you think Democrats will do with this margin tonight, and why does it matter in Florida, in a red state like Florida, for this midterm election coming up?
It definitely does. I think here more even in other parts of the country, Florida really has solidified itself as a true red state after we saw overwhelming victories by the Republicans in this last November election at the presidential level as well as other races. So I think from here you'll likely see them kind of hang on.
Why do we have Jeff Allen? Fuck Jeff Allen.
It's really the first election, like you said, since this.
He does look like a potato head. Oh my God, she's right.
Potential disapproval of what may be happening at the national level, at least by Democrats for the most part, is playing out and how voters may vote. So as you look towards those midterms in the 2026 election, still about 19 months to go, a lot can happen and will happen. But I think Democrats will hang their hats on this a bit and continue to obviously be critical of the Trump administration and hope.
Is this your first time watching the Troll Patrol? Warlord, let's see your follow time.
Breathing a little bit easier tonight as well because his cushion just got
like bang followage. Let's see it. Let's see it, Warlord.
Republican.
Is this your first time watching the show?
Seat, that District 6. Moving on to District 1, polls have just closed.
4 years, 5 months, 23 hours.
So we are just a few minutes into vote tabulation.
5 days, 23 hours.
Jeff Allen, tell us about this seat.
The Republican up in Florida with 13% of the vote in.
The district vacated by Matt Gaetz, of course, in his failed nomination to be U.S. Attorney General. That's in the panhandle of Florida. So, many of those just closed. Many of those areas are in Central Time Zone. And so far, it's looking like Jimmy Petronas, he's the outgoing chief financial officer of the state of Florida here, already ahead by a margin of more than, looks like about 14 points, just about 12% of the vote in so far in that race. But out of the two
districts, beats Warlord.
Felt the most confident about potentially flipping as they felt like it was close would be House District 6 that we were just talking about. So in this district, it's a much more, even more so.
They are clapping for
stronghold there in the panhandle. So this
Cory
one less of a chance.
He has ended his historic filibuster.
Madam President! Madam President! Thank you to the pages. Thank you to the parliamentarian staff. Thank you to the clerks. Thank you to the doorkeepers. There are so many people that make this place special. I kept you up all night, kept you up 24 hours. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I make no apologies that I didn't come on and cover this motherfucker, or that I didn't skip Meatloaf or Blue Oyster Cult.
Madam President. Madam President.
Yeah, we watched the climax. That was
next
all we needed.
Business confirmation of Mr. Matthew Whitaker.
Order in the Senate, please. Order in the galleries.
Madam President, is the next regular order of business confirmation of Mr. Matthew Whitaker to be ambassador to NATO? So that's the next order of business.
The ambassador to NATO.
It is.
Thank you. I'd ask unanimous consent that myself.
The current margins hold. Democrats may still kind of see that as a little bit of a victory in that they were able to sway a lot of voters.
They're going to claim victory. You know the Democrats are.
We have a whole lot of those here in Florida. They're almost as big as the Democrats and Republicans when it comes to how people register to vote. A lot of people just simply don't want their name maybe associated with one party or another, so they register as NPA. And again, if they feel like that they've been able to get more of those voters over to the Democratic side with these elections, even though they may not get that seat in Congress won, they still may see that as a victory.
All right, taking one last look here at the first district here, the Associated Press reporting with 37% of the votes counted, and you can see that the Republican candidate leading there in that race. We'll get an update again later on this race. We'll probably see results. Jeff Allen, what's your prediction? Do you think we know the winner?
Oh, do you know who that is? Oh my God!
The hour?
Oh my God! Curiouser just said her hair is so pretty. Yes,
As the U.S.
her
Attorney
hair
for
is
the Southern
gorgeous.
District of Iowa,
She is
in private
beautiful.
practice, and most
She is
recently
Joni
as the
Ernst.
former acting
Senator Joni Ernst.
States.
Will the gentlewoman yield?
Yes,
A woman who I absolutely would
The
love
will be in order.
to have as a GOP mommy.
Take your conversations off the floor.
Curiouser's like, yeah, she saw it.
The gentlewoman from Iowa may.
Indeed, yes. See, Curiouser's now wishing me luck.
Court race. He and President Trump supporting the conservative because issues
She's
like
beautiful.
labor,
Absolutely beautiful.
possibly election rules could be decided by this Wisconsin State Supreme Court, a swing state, and the outcome of
She
this
does kind of look like Mallory
will
Archer.
determine whether it's a 4-3 balance, either conservative or liberal. But it's not just Elon Musk and President Trump who are paying attention. According to Axios, former President Barack Obama and liberal billionaire
Zon,
George Soros
alien,
also
welcome in.
supporting the liberal candidate in this race. Again, Spectrum News 1 in Milwaukee will be live simulcasting their coverage of the Wisconsin Supreme Court race at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, we'll bring you back to Sunday and Elon Musk in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
It's a sensible goal.
Oh no, Greta! I thought you were going to take calls. No,
I should say if
nobody wanted this.
Combination of a $1 trillion increase in economic output and a $1 trillion decrease in the budget deficit, then
Oh no, we'd much rather have fucking Joni Ernst. Come on.
Across many organizations and jurisdictions.
Grr.
He understands the evolving threats our nation and our allies face, from terrorism to cyber
You
warfare.
can absolutely be my GOP mommy.
His experiences navigating complex security challenges will make him
want
an
to call?
asset
Will
to
you talk to her office for me?
for strength.
Will you make a phone call to her office?
Matt Whitaker is a principled leader with a proven track record. Under President Trump's peace through strength approach, I have no doubt
Oh no, okay.
he'll be an effective advocate for America's interests.
So Cory Booger fucked up my whole joke I was gonna do about being back in 2017. This is why we got the old graphics. Well, let's go ahead. I got 2017 police chase. Classic police chase. We're in Lancaster, California.
All right, and for those of you just joining us, we are looking at a live pursuit in Lancaster, California. For those of you unfamiliar with the Southern California area, Lancaster is northeast of downtown Los Angeles. It
Mr.
is
Elwood, welcome in.
east of Interstate 5, off of the 14 freeway there in Southern California.
And right now we don't know what the suspect is wanted for, but we'll keep
an
eye on our Twitter feeds as well for any late developments that might
All
come in.
scrambled
But right now,
again.
nothing erratic, just looks like going the speed limit at this point. We see one cruiser in the back. We'll see if there's more, if it widens out. Here comes another cruiser on the left side there, and we have more now. So they might be wanting to do some kind of move. Maybe
That's
pretty
weird,
soon, right here.
anonymously.
What do
Also,
you say,
welcome
Sam?
in. I don't know if I told you good evening.
Who knows? Let's just keep watching, Mike.
And folks, you are watching the Fox 10 and News Now streaming. Everybody watching on Fox 10 Phoenix Facebook Live. When breaking news does occur, you know we're covering it.
Kind of a low-speed chase, it seems. Thank you. I was getting ready to catch that. What up, Garbe? Welcome in. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in.
All right, so once again, we are looking at the cruiser, getting a little bit closer to this suspect. We'll see what's going to happen here. But so far, we've been watching for the last 5 minutes here. Nothing erratic. That's a good thing. We're hoping.
Is it because of my graphics, my crazy-ass graphics fuck up your TV?
The innocent ones will continue to be safe here.
Too much shit going on the screen. All day and all night. Did you just say Carpe's ugly? Oh, carpet. What carpet? I don't have any carpet. Oh, she said Carpe's cute. Oh,
it looks like right
they
here
can't see that carpet.
Police cruiser is trying to get some kind of position on the suspect.
Oh, shit.
Here we are watching very closely here. Here we go. Wanting to make some kind of move. They're going zigzagging right now.
My microphone arm is gone flaccid.
Sometimes that shot will go a little in and out with us. Stay right here with us. Many of you in the chat wanting to know, okay, how did this chase all start up? And we don't have those details right
That's exactly what we
now
want to know.
for you. Very fluid situation, but you can see the cruiser wants to get some sort of position on this suspect here.
Yes, Carpe. That's what I did.
And every time they zigzag a little bit in and out here. Continuing to watch live here. Yeah, some sort of side-swiping motion.
Yeah, somebody told me you're
looking. Oh, here we go. Peeling out here, going onto the side there. That was a little bizarre. Comes back onto the road. For a moment there, we didn't know what that suspect was doing. You know, so many times people say, well, Mike, why do they continue to run when there's a chopper above? You got so many patrol officers there in the background. Well, you know what? So many times they just want to extend those last moments of freedom.
All I got was the milkshakes
eventually
on.
This is going to be a bust, and they're going to...
I thought about some cheese curds.
There was some more traffic there.
I thought about
one police cruiser. Then
got a chicken quesadilla
because they want to keep those people safe as well. But as I was saying, so many times these suspects want to extend just that little bit of freedom. That's all they have left, and they know eventually they are going to get caught.
All I wanted was a milkshake.
Worse, we hope they don't hurt anyone. We hope they don't hurt themselves or
peanut butter fudge is my favorite.
So many times we see these amazing officers
I love peanut butter
trying
fudge.
to do their best job, keep everyone safe, and we'll see what happens.
Yours got blueberry
Continue to watch
cheesecake,
live.
and she said it was delicious. She actually said delicioso, but I didn't.
Okay,
there
it
was
looks
like cats
are we
doing
having
shit in
a
the
stop
background.
right here? Oh, okay. It looked like they wanted to maybe put those stop sticks on, but they weren't able to get a clean swipe. We're getting more traffic now. They want, obviously, to end
She
this.
said delicioso. I don't want to misrepresent
Have a
her.
suspect there on the road. The more chances, something that could happen. We look like we're looking at another moment here where that cruiser gets very close to the suspect, wants to try to block him out maybe. We did see a little shrapnel come from the car. Maybe a stop stick was used, and maybe part of that tire is falling apart here. We're gonna watch
that's a
it
big
carefully.
no, Corpe.
All right, so Mike, I am just going through Twitter right now, and it appears that about 10 to 15 minutes ago, authorities had deployed spike strips initially to disable the suspect's vehicle. So it's possible in that incident that they were able to disable
All right,
part
so
of the vehicle.
Yeah, we'll continue to look. It looks like if it's going to be anything, it's going to be that rear right tire.
Eat the basalt.
That's where we were seeing some shrapnel come off from
Right.
that car, but
That looks like that was the tire that was affected by the spike strip about 10, 15 minutes ago.
all right. So once again, that cruiser getting very close once again to the suspect there. They're looking for any opportunity that they can maybe just do a quick little bump, a tap, you know, when you're going about 50, 60 miles per hour, just the slightest tap will send that vehicle out of control.
Right, and they obviously want to still be safe. They don't want to injure anyone if they don't have to.
Yep, we just saw more shrapnel coming off the car there.
And so a little bit of background history for those of you who are just joining us. This pursuit started
Cruiser
as a
says bye.
pursuit. LA County officials pursuing the suspect. More recently, California Highway Patrol took over from the LA County Sheriff's deputies that were initially pursuing the suspect. The suspect is in a Ford Explorer and is traveling in the Lancaster desert area.
Thanks to all our fans watching live from all over the country here. If you're new to the stream, maybe it's your first time on Fox 10 Phoenix Facebook Live, hit that share button, hit that like button. That way you'll always be in the know when we are covering breaking news from anywhere across the country.
Did the cop not try to pit him? Dustin, welcome in. There's a Maynard sitting in the chair right here behind me. This is a police chase from 2017. Because my thought process was I was going to do all news from 2017. I was going to come on. I was going to do all stories from April 1st, 2017. Act like Trump was a huge threat, but it was all stories from 8 years ago. Then I had police chases from 2017.
All right, we're just getting some info here from our news desk, and it appears, we haven't seen it yet from the shot yet, but it appears that there are actually two pursuits that are happening at the same time on the same road right behind
two pursuits
Lancaster. So we haven't been able to see it, obviously, because the shot has been on this vehicle here, but I wonder if they could widen out and give us maybe a shot of maybe two pursuits going on. Maybe there's two suspects in two different cars that they are trying to get a hold of here. Continuing to watch live, Fox 10 News Now stream.
Well, they're not letting us see anything.
All right, for those of you just joining us, spike strips have been deployed. That back driver's side tire down to the rim.
Oh, yeah.
However, the suspect
still going though.
Down anytime soon.
This is the cop going to try to sideswipe them. Holiday, welcome in. Lenny, welcome in. I don't know if I shouted you out.
All right, as we just saw, the suspect.
Cop gonna try to. Oh, there we go.
The vehicle looks like police have now just
Completely spun him out.
tapped the vehicle. The
Oh.
Out.
He looks like he's gonna square up with a cop. Oh my God, is he gonna fight the cops?
The suspect walking. Will he put his hands up?
He looks like he's gonna fight. He's gonna put his dukes up. Is what he's gonna do. Look at him. You're like, I thought this was America.
Arms in the air. Looking
He's
flustered.
pissed.
It appears he is yelling.
Yes, he is.
Communicating in some manner with authorities. But as you can see, very flustered. Viewer discretion is advised. This is a live feed. Again, the driver of that vehicle now running on that road.
I love it. I love it.
Their units.
Go on, brother.
The chase continues on the ground.
Oh, he got by him. I think a taser was deployed.
CHP
Got him
units
now.
have now apprehended the suspect. Again, California Highway Patrol taking over this pursuit, a pursuit that initially started by LA County.
He looked
Sheriff's
pissed.
deputies.
He got out of the car like he wanted to fight the fucking cops. I love it.
The suspect appears to be detained, but not.
Let's go back. Oh, he's yelling at him there. Hold on. We've got a whole storyline. He's out the window yelling at them. He's letting them know what for. Maybe pleading with him. Hey, no, man, I didn't do anything. What are you chasing after me for?
It almost like the making a man.
All right, as we just saw, the suspect motioning outside the vehicle. Looks like police have now just
Spun him out.
tapped the vehicle.
Cause he got the fuck out. Like, nah, man, what up? Let's fight.
The suspect walking. Will he put his hands up? The suspect waving his arms in the air, looking flustered. It appears he is yelling, communicating in some manner with authorities. But as you can see, very flustered. Viewer discretion is advised. This is a live feed. Again, the driver of that vehicle now running.
Go, brother, go.
In Lancaster, officers pursuing them in their units. The chase continues on the ground. CHP units have now apprehended the suspect. Again, California Highway Patrol taking over this pursuit, a pursuit that initially started by LA County Sheriff's deputies. The suspect appears to be detained, but not without a struggle.
Minor struggle.
And just a quick update, I do want to clarify, earlier reports from our Fox station in Los Angeles suggested that 2 pursuits were happening at the same time on the same road right behind each other. That indeed was a false report. It appears that our sister station was misinformed, and what they thought was a second suspect turned out to be just an unmarked police vehicle. So there was only one pursuit, one suspect being pursued, and now that suspect is on the ground, as you can see. This chase wrapping up in the Lancaster Desert area.
Right, so let's get to the news of the day. C-SPAN still showing the Elon Musk rally. Maybe we'll take it at 9 o'clock when they do the Wisconsin race. Another turn that this story about the administration communicating through unclassified channels is taken. Apparently the staff is using Gmail up in here.
Come on the air with the breaking news about Team Trump's reckless disregard for U.S. national security. According to documents reviewed by the Washington Post, as well as interviews with 3 U.S. officials, White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has done it again. He and members of the National Security Council have, quote, conducted government business over personal Gmail accounts, end quote. Washington Post reporting this, quote, a senior Waltz aide used the commercial email service for highly technical conversations with colleagues at other government agencies, including sensitive military positions and powerful weapon systems relating to an ongoing conflict. That is according to emails that were reviewed by the Washington Post. Waltz has had less sensitive but potentially exploitable information sent to his Gmail, such as his schedule and other work documents. The Trump administration is pushing back against the Washington Post report, and a spokesperson for the National Security Council saying that he has not seen Mike Waltz use his Gmail that way, adding, quote, Waltz didn't and wouldn't send classified information on an open account. That is not what the Washington Post reports. It's not the question or even the point. Experts telling the Washington Post that Waltz's use of Gmail makes him an incredibly vulnerable and high-value target for foreign actors, people like spies, saying that Gmail is far less secure than even a messaging app like Signal, which was, as we all know now, used by practically every single member, including the Vice President of the United States, of Donald Trump's top national security apparatus. They use Signal to have very sensitive conversations about an imminent military strike. Wall Street Journal also reported over the weekend that Mike Waltz had multiple other Signal chat groups going, not just about the Houthis, but about Russia and other topics. This breaking news on the use of Gmail to discuss government business by national security officials in the Trump administration is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Former acting assistant attorney general for national security at the Justice Department, now an MSNBC legal analyst, Mary McCord is here. With me at the table, New York Times investigative reporter and MSNBC national security contributor Mike Schmidt is here. Also joining us, MSNBC legal analyst and former
Mike Schmidt,
Criminal Division Deputy Chief Christy Greenberg.
Law Dog, welcome in.
McCord, your first thoughts.
Well, you know, we were floored to learn that some of the top national security officials were using Signal to discuss detailed plans about an attack on the Houthis. But Signal, at least, is end-to-end encrypted. It is certainly not an approved communications application for classified information, but it's more secure than Gmail. So it's pretty shocking to see that not only would the carelessness in protecting sensitive information extend not only to using an unsafe and unsecure platform like Signal, but to one that is even less secure and less safe than Gmail. I recognize that there is pushback that anything classified was actually communicated on Gmail, but some of the things that you just described from that Washington Post story do sound very much like things that in my term in government would have been classified. And even if not classified national defense information, like the information that was in the signal chats about the attack on the Houthis, which put aside for a second that the department or that the government is claiming that was not classified. I don't buy that. But even assuming nothing of that same level of sensitivity was on Gmail, it is not an approved communications platform for government employees doing official government business. And that is not only
duh.
issues, even things far less secret than our classified national defense information are still sensitive, still something that we don't want adversaries, both foreign and domestic, to be getting a hold of or breaking into. It's also not an approved mechanism for maintaining federal records. I mean, one reason you need to use your government email when you're communicating about official business with other government employees or even with outside government employees is so there would be a record of those emails for purposes of the Federal Records Act. Excuse me. So that's another problem with the use of Gmail here.
So, Mary, I want to ask you to sort of travel back in time when Trump cabinet officials were treated like mere mortals.
No, that's enough. We got the gist of the story. Let's go back to C-SPAN for a second.
What were these candidates talking about with the voters in Florida? What were the issues that they were bringing up in their ads or at rallies?
Well, they really were talking about things that Democrats have been talking about since President Trump took over in his second term, things that they feel like they're not happy with so far with the Trump administration. They were promising to guard voters' social services like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, things that they say that Republicans are trying to take away or at least chip away at. They were guaranteeing that they would keep those things and fight for voters when it comes to those issues. And you saw that here in Central Florida as well as in the Panhandle with this House District 1 race.
Will we hear from the candidates tonight?
Right now, it's unclear. We do expect the winners in these, as we often do, Jimmy Petronis and Randy Fine, to talk about their victories and give those speeches. We do have crews at the Democrats here in Central Florida, Josh Wheel's headquarters. So still unclear if he's going to come out and talk. We would expect so, though. And I think especially with
the races he's referring to, the congressional special elections in Florida. Randy Fine wins the District 6 seat. This was Mike Waltz's. The Gmail using signal chat having Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. This is his former seat. Republican Randy Fine has won.
The Associated Press is declaring Randy Fine the winner of the special election in the District 6 congressional race. And joining me live now on Zoom is political expert John Hanley. He's a UCF professor to give us more insight on this race. John, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. What is your reaction to the race being called for Randy Fine?
Well, I think Republicans will be breathing a sigh of relief. This is a district that has a 14-point Republican advantage. It went Trump 64-34 in November. The polling was showing it closer than that, and Fine looks like he's held on. So they'll be happy that they've been able to hold this seat and hold a little bit of the Republican advantage in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, I'm sure though some Republicans were a little bit concerned. I mean, this may come down to just single digits separating the winner and the loser. What do you think that says about the candidates?
Well, I think, Randy Fine is someone who had gained some notoriety while he was in the state legislature for some of his antics. That might have weighed against him. You hear on the campaign trail that Elon Musk is not the most popular. And so, this is a pretty solid Republican district. The Democrats, I think, are the more energized party. They're now the more educated party in the United States, so they were hoping to steal one from the Republicans. But late attention came in and was able to turn that tide and make it a solid Republican win.
Were you surprised, John, that the Democrat actually had a bigger campaign funding flowing in? We're hearing 10 times, $10 million to $1 million.
Well, I think, again, you know, when a party loses the presidency like the Democrats did, the supporters are looking for a way to get back. And so you see a lot of these small dollar donations for whoever they can put the money towards. So Josh Wheel, you know, he's a public school teacher, so that was a good constituency for the Democrats. And so it's not surprising to see someone, you know, receive that kind of money. It wasn't maybe the most competitive district on paper, but they were able to make it a lot more competitive than it seemed.
Yeah, and John, we have the mid-year elections coming up just next year. I mean, what do you think this is saying about, you know, all the races there? A lot of times the party that's not in office, you know, has a little bit of a bump in the mid-year election. Do you think that is going to happen again this year?
Well, the Republicans have such a small margin in the House of Representatives that everything kind of has to go their way in order to retain the House in 2026. And so they'll be looking district by district, including at this Florida 6th district, because for Fine to only be up 7 or 8 points on a political newcomer like Wheel means that they might have to support him more in 2026. And so this is one we're going to have to watch all the way to November 2026.
All right. As we know, the AP has called Randy Fine the winner of the District 6 congressional seat. Any final thoughts, John?
Well, I think,
yeah, John,
you know, this is an interesting one. Could Wheel run again in 26? What does this mean for the other election that we're seeing in the Panhandle? The Panhandle district will give you a better sense of whether it's district-specific and candidate-specific issues related to Randy Fine, or whether this is a broader shift towards the Democrats.
All right, John Hanley, appreciate your time tonight. We appreciate you being here to talk about this.
All right, Fat, welcome in.
Times you join us here on Fox News. We appreciate your time.
I know I'm jumping around tonight. It's election night. We've got the Cory Booker thing. You ruined my April Fool's joke. We're doing old school graphics tonight. So I wasn't really prepared for everything that's happening. So we're jumping around. This is in the last few hours. 4 people were hurt in Boston's Chinatown as a box truck plowed into a building. We got footage of it.
We begin tonight with surveillance video showing a rental truck just moments before it crashed onto a sidewalk and people nearby running toward the scene. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Courtney Cole. It happened at Nealon and Harrison Streets. This is in Boston's Chinatown. 4 people were hurt, taken to the hospital because of this crash. We want to get you right out to WBZ's Brandon Truitt, who joins us live at the scene tonight. And Brandon, investigators are saying they do not believe this crash was intentional.
No, they believe it's accidental, apparently.
That truck has been moved. We're actually standing where it crashed, but you can see the work to clean up is still going on behind me. They're boarding up this restaurant here. Just one of the businesses this truck seemed to have sideswiped. And if you look down here on the sidewalk, you can see some of the dust, essentially, to pick up the oil from the truck is still in place. And this green cone marking a pole that the truck ultimately hit. It's just been terrifying for so many people, including those who were in that restaurant when this crash happened.
I just heard like a huge boom.
It happened in an instant on this busy Boston street. A box truck jumped the curb, sideswiped businesses, and hit pedestrians. These folks were just feet away from disaster.
And I thought it was like some shelf collapse or something. And I turned my back towards it and I saw like smoke.
There's a lot of people yelling and screaming for help.
Surveillance video shows the truck driving down Neelan Street toward Tufts Medical Center just before 1 o'clock. The crash happened off frame, but you can see witnesses running to help.
The people that was walking noticed the situation and they all went for help and tried to help the guy that was on the ground that was hit also, and there was someone stuck under the truck also.
Boston police say 4 people were taken to the hospital, including the driver. One of them had life-threatening injuries.
This seems to be more of a tragic accident.
The aftermath shows the scale of this crash. Debris all over the road, windows shattered, even fire hydrants flew down the block. Crews spent hours surveying the street before cutting down a light pole and ultimately removing the truck, with people in shock by what they witnessed.
It's very painful to see that, and I feel bad for everyone, the families who has to deal with the situation.
I feel bad for the people who got injured. I mean, no one wants this happen.
So again, police are just trying to figure out how this happened, why it happened. Again, they're calling it an accident. At this point, they're asking for anyone who has any video information about this box truck to give them a call, hand it over to them. At this point, no charges have been filed. Live in Chinatown, Brandon True at WBZ News.
This is the heart of Chinatown. This was happening right in the middle of the day. A lot of people out here.
Was I muted that whole time?
Some stopping into restaurants, grabbing lunch when that truck came barreling down the street, crashing right into the building you see here behind me. And right now you can see crews from the power company up in that bucket truck working on the power pole, that light post that the truck came crashing into. The truck on its side, the back of it open, wide open. You can see debris all over the ground, broken glass, twisted metal just laying there as police begin to investigate what happened.
I like twisted metal.
Neelan Street and almost all of the side streets leading up here blocked off as they work. Some say the crash sounded like an explosion. Others saying they saw people laying on the ground as bystanders and first responders rushed to help. Police say a half dozen people were hurt, including 2 who were inside the ramen restaurant that was hit. 4, including the driver, were rushed to nearby hospitals while 2 were treated at the scene. Investigators say 1 person has life-threatening injuries while the driver is expected to survive. The district attorney and the Boston police commissioner are both very clear to say they believe this crash was not intentional, multiple times describing it as, quote, a tragic accident.
This easily could have been a far worse circumstance given the time of day and how many people tend to be in this area at the time. And so in many ways we're fortunate, but we continue to keep those who are injured, and particularly the person in critical condition, in our thoughts and prayers.
Other people that was walking noticed the situation and they all went for help and tried to help the guy that was on the ground that was hit also, and there was someone stuck under the truck also at the back of the truck.
Cell phone video showing the moments first responders rushed to rushing some of those hurt on stretchers into waiting ambulances. Witnesses say the driver of the truck hit multiple light poles before crashing into the building. Now taking you back out live here, you're looking at Neelan Street and Harrison Avenue as crews work on that truck right there. We've been watching the power companies. It looks like they were sawing away at some of that metal light post, working to get that down. We know the building inspector will have to come out here and take a look at the building, make sure it's safe for people to go inside. But police, again, telling us this is very early in their investigation. There's a lot of work for them to do, a lot of things for them to take into account, how this happened, what was going on with the driver. We know that they're talking to anyone who might have seen this crash happen. They're also going around business to business, building to building, going through all of the security cameras, hoping to find any surveillance video that will help them with their investigation. Maria, Shayna?
I'll take it, Emily. It is interesting all these hours later that is still a very active scene and worth repeating. This does not appear to be intentional, correct?
Absolutely. That was made very clear during a press conference that we were listening into just a little while ago. We heard from the Boston Police Commissioner as well as the Suffolk County District Attorney and Mayor Michelle Wu. All three of them very intentional to tell us that this appears to be a tragic accident, saying that there is no reason for them to believe that this crash that happened here behind me was intentional. Again, they believe it was an accident. We know that investigators are expected to be out here for a while. They are going to go piece by piece, frame by frame through any video they are able to find, hoping to piece together every single second leading up to this crash. But again, it is a scary scene out here, the middle of the day, right in the lunch hour. This is the heart of Chinatown. And when a crash like this happens, you tend to think some of the worst case scenarios. But again, everyone out here today, police, law enforcement, the district.
Avalon, welcome in.
This appears to be a tragic accident. Live in Chinatown, Emily Maha, WCVB.
Wild. All right, we're going to go. No, we're jumping around here a bit. We're going to go back to politics. It's been a wild day for my lady. Woman who can absolutely be my GOP mommy. Her name is Anna Paulina Luna. She left the Freedom Caucus.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna is resigning from the House Freedom Caucus. She sent a letter to the caucus saying some members have succumbed to the very corruption they pledged to uproot. She felt they acted inappropriately.
The Freedom Caucus coming apart.
A House resolution she co-sponsored. That bill would allow proxy voting for House members who have recently become new parents or are pregnant and cannot safely travel.
So, yeah, this was her on the floor of the House earlier today before they voted on the bill. My gal, Anna Paulina Luna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this rule. As many of you might know, for over 2 years now, I've been championing the cause to allow new female members of Congress the right to vote. Some of the American people might be surprised that if you are a female member and you have a child that you can't vote, which means that you can't execute your constitutional authority. For almost 2 years now in this cause, I've met with leadership and I've exhausted all tools in my legislative toolkit to be able to bring this to the floor. As I was met with much opposition, I finally used the last tool that I had at my disposal, which was something known as a discharge petition, where I collected 218 signatures and expanded the ability to vote while recovering from childbirth, not just to mothers, but also to young fathers in our governing body. Now leadership, because of the fact that they don't like that I was successful at this, is now trying to change the rules. But I want to talk about how fundamentally dangerous this rule change is. As of right now, they've slipped language into this rule, and we'll get to what they attached the rule to in a second, that would permanently kill any ability for new members of Congress to be able to bring this up and allow those members, if they just had a child, to be able to vote. That's dangerous because of the fact that, A, not only, if I'm arguing this from a Republican standpoint, that we have a very slim majority, but also to think about the message that that sends allowing female members to be able to vote. In addition to that, I'd also like to add that for a while we've had the majority and we've had the ability to bring legislation to the floor on election integrity and also to call out rogue judges. And yet they chose at this point in time to tie this discharge petition killer to this rule that would also permanently paint me and the members supporting it. And I would like to also share that I'm one of the most conservative members of this body. I'd like to hold up my voting record to anyone else as not just being anti-election integrity, but also enabling a position that I don't typically agree with. That in itself, I would say in this entire process has been the most disappointing, especially from among my party. But I would also ask my colleagues to remember up until 1916, female representation was not a common thing in Washington, D.C.
I will use the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
I urge all of my colleagues to give this a fair shot, vote no against the rule, allow this to come to the floor so that we can address it for the first time, I'd say, in congressional history, and do the right thing. If we don't do the right thing now, it'll never be done. Thank you. I yield my time.
Gentleman yields back. I reserve. Gentleman.
I mean, I was muted, but I wasn't saying anything.
You live in sexual anarchy?
She can totally be my GOP mommy. Grail, good evening. She teamed up with Democrats today in order to get the proxy voting done, and Mike Johnson threw a hissy fit about it. Mike Johnson threw an absolute hissy fit about it.
A bipartisan revolt on Capitol Hill, and it's all in support of moms and dads. Democrats joining with Republicans trying to stop GOP leaders from blocking an impending vote on proxy voting for new parents. Congresswoman Brittany Pettersen cradling her baby on the House floor. You see her there. The Colorado Democrats supporting a proxy voting measure brought by Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna.
For all of the parents here, we know that when we have newborns, it's when they're the most vulnerable in their life. It's when they need 24/7 care. It is unfathomable that in 2025 we have not modernized Congress to address these very unique challenges that members face.
So the vote ultimately failed 206 to 222, with 9 Republicans siding with a unanimous Democratic caucus. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien there on Capitol Hill once again. Jay, it's not often that we see a vote, that we have a vote failing with bipartisan support. So kind of break this down for us. What does it all mean?
And this vote failing is exactly what Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who's the architect of all of this, and Congresswoman Pettersen, who you just saw there, wanted, because Republican leadership had been opposed to what's called proxy voting, remote voting, which in this case would cover parents who've just had children. Republican leadership say it's unconstitutional, that they believe it's a slippery slope. So they slipped language into this unrelated procedural vote to try to block Luna and Pettersen and the other Democrats and Republicans who were behind this from bringing their measure on proxy voting to a vote. And so what Luna did was got 8 Republicans plus her and all Democrats, as you just said, to vote against this procedural vote and paralyze the House floor. Now House leadership cannot bring anything they wanted to bring for a vote this week to a vote. They actually canceled votes just now for the rest of the week. So what Luna and other new
Mike Johnson
is paralyzed the House.
Was a big baby about it.
Push leadership to give them what they want, which is remote voting for new parents in Congress.
And you just spoke with Congresswoman Pettersen and Luna. Is that right? What did they say?
I did. They were triumphant as they came off the House floor just moments ago. They told me that this is a victory for moms and dads. Here's a little of what they said.
We worked as a team, and I think that today is a pretty historical day for the entire conference. It's showing that the body has decided that parents deserve a voice in Washington, and also to the importance of female members having a vote in Washington, D.C.
But we're changing the way that Congress works, making sure that moms and parents have a voice. This is an important step forward, but we still have a long ways to go.
Speaker Johnson, though, not letting up. He walked off the House floor. He said he was disappointed, but leadership looks to be repositioning to try to block this again, Stephanie. So the fight over remote voting for new parents in Congress, it is far from over.
Interesting. And then one quick question, Jay, while you're there, do you know how long proxy voting had been in place? I would imagine that this isn't new.
So
right?
It was in place, remember, during the pandemic. That's when it was used at its height. And Republicans used it as Democrats did. Speaker Johnson used it himself, proxy voting during the pandemic. And it's something that Democrats have pointed out here. But Republicans did away with proxy voting when they took control of the House after the 2022 midterms. Again, they say it's unconstitutional. They view it as a slippery slope. They argue that if you're a member of Congress, you should be here on Capitol Hill voting on legislation. And what these new parents are asking for is not blanket exceptions, but just exceptions for people who have just had a child.
That makes sense. And as you said, this fight is long from over. Jay, thank you so much.
Bonder Monkey, welcome in. The baby is a paid actor. Speaking of paid actors, Chucky Boy Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House and Senate Democrats, spoke outside of Congress earlier.
Have the two of you go right here in the middle.
All right. This is us. X marks the spot.
Yeah, I can't believe it's you either.
We just completed a very good meeting between House Democratic leadership,
wow,
Senate Democratic leadership. We are standing together in defense of the American people, House Democrats and Senate Democrats, fighting hard to build an affordable economy that works for everyday Americans and drives down the high cost of living in this country. At the same period of time, Donald Trump and House Republicans promised to lower the high cost of living. But costs aren't going down, they are going up. Inflation is going up under the Republicans here in the Congress and the Trump administration, while at the same time the stock market is collapsing, eroding the retirement security of the American.
Cory Booker broke the record for
on driving down the high cost of living.
Longest filibuster.
Are crashing the economy.
The polls have just closed in Wisconsin.
Driving us toward a recession. House and Senate Democrats are united in defending Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, and nutritional assistance for our children and our families, while Republicans are trying
Cory Booker broke
away, stealing taxpayer dollars.
The record for longest filibuster.
A massive tax break for Elon Musk.
This is Hakeem Jeffries, the
down the throats of the American people. We are standing together.
Democratic leader of
to the GOP tax scam and
minority leader for the House Democrats.
The American people.
There we go.
Thank you, Hakeem, and we had a great meeting. We are all on the same page.
Ah, shut the fuck up. Polls just closed in Wisconsin. That's the other race we're watching tonight. In the Florida congressional races, the Republicans won both races. In Wisconsin, I have a feeling the liberals are going to win the Supreme Court seat.
Morning. Everyone can come in.
Well, I think it's an important race to make sure that we have some, what I think is representative, judicial, people instead of people that are bought and sold. So.
Okay. Do you mind going into a little bit more detail what that means regarding these candidates? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Susan Crawford is the one that has demonstrated.
Crawford is the liberal.
Fair in her decisions and her outlook on life for Wisconsin citizens.
Recently, the political landscape has felt like there's been a lot of corruption that I don't think has been fairly well hidden. And it's been very frustrating to me, and also just as a member of the trans community, I don't feel like I have the privilege to avoid voting at the moment.
Great. Can you tell us how that connects to a state Supreme Court election. This is getting a lot of attention.
I mean, I think on both sides there's been a lot of attention on this election and like a lot of these state issues and making sure that enforcement of things like voting and how our elections locally are run, that does eventually trickle up to the federal elections.
I think Trump is a abusive bully, and I think that I hope that Wisconsin comes out for somebody that isn't doesn't have a connection to that administration.
It's very positive what the Trump administration is doing, and of course they're backing Brad Schimmel, Republican. So again, I think that if a liberal gets in there, they're going to continue to try to destroy Trump's efforts to,
There are still people waiting in line to vote.
I know that the approach he's doing seems really harsh, and a lot of people wanted it, done much slower. But I didn't see another way to do it, really.
For me, it's to support Trump, because I think he's doing a lot of good things, and to this point, he's had a lot of impact. I think more impact than we've had in a long time in this country, and some necessary things that have to happen. And so my vote today was to continue to support him.
So we have no results in just yet, Warlord.
One of the Supreme Court candidates is, and then they've made no bones about it, they're going to redistrict. They're going to gerrymander a couple of districts, and in order to flip them Democrat, which means 2 more Congress people from Wisconsin, which potentially flips the number in the country, which then derails the Trump agenda. For the first time, somebody on the conservative side, the Republican side, a big donor has come in from out of state. The Democrats have been doing it for many elections, and now all of a sudden it's a big deal because they've got competition.
What?
Soros money's been been funding the Democrats for multiple elections, and now they're all happen. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, should there be this much money spent on a statewide Supreme Court?
No,
probably not. But we're finally playing the game that the Democrats have been playing, and they're pissed.
That's insane.
French.
Fear, and I think fear makes people
Let's do this
easier to, I don't want to say control, but a fearful mind is a more malleable mind, in the sense of people who are fearing for where they're
Oh yeah, Timber, thank you for being a freaking follower.
will look like, are more open to different potentials for that, and that's a scary thing because it can make people act out of fear as opposed to love and connection.
As opposed to love and connection.
I think it's more than a little frustrating for a lot of people to have so much outside influence on, state elections. But I think it's important to stay engaged always, especially in off-cycle elections.
I think just like supporting everybody
Nerds right.
is more important than people who were supporting Elon Musk or, the multi-billionaires. I think that is important. But yeah, that's sort of my reasoning for Crawford.
I mean, when you've got the richest man in the world coming out and...
The results are on screen, goddammit. What the fuck do you think you're looking at?
Questionable legality. I
can't make him come in any faster, Warlord.
Well, we'll say.
It will directly impact us as consumers. Things are going to be more expensive. People are already struggling to afford basic necessities like groceries. let alone larger necessities like healthcare. So it's just going to
I am trying to make them sexier.
in a worse position than we might already
That is totally a thing I'm working on here.
to afford.
Nope, too much.
I think there's a huge misconception, especially among the modern day GOP MAGA folks about what tariffs are, what they're
those stupid
what
fucks.
they're going to impact people. You know, you still have people going out and the president himself saying that other countries pay tariffs. That's just not true. That's not what a tariff is or how it works. They're going to lead to increased prices.
Yeah, what he said, nerd. Trump apparently tapped former Representative Anthony D'Espinito
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us.
role in labor.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. President Trump has tapped former Republican Congressman Anthony D'Esposito to serve as the next Inspector General for the Department of Labor. The White House announced D'Esposito's nomination last night. He lost his bid for re-election last year. Shortly after assuming office, it was reported D'Esposito gave jobs in his congressional office to a woman he was having an affair with and
Yeah, sounds right.
his fiancee's daughter. I want to bring in Mark Greenblatt. Mark served as the Inspector General of the Department of Interior until President Trump fired him and several other inspectors general during the first week back in office. Mark, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining me. So the courts have ruled the president had the legal authority to fire you and the other inspectors general, even though there is a congressional requirement to give notice and give cause.
Oh, here we go.
The courts basically said the president has executive authority. He can do it. What do you think about this D'Esposito nomination? What do you think it portends for other vacancies to be filled by this administration?
Well, today is April 1st, and I got to be honest, when I heard the news last night, I was really hoping it was an April Fool's joke. This is absolutely the opposite of what the American taxpayers should want as an inspector general. The IGs are responsible. We are the watchdogs inside federal agencies. We are supposed to be apolitical fact finders inside federal agencies. And this nomination is particularly troubling in light of the ethics misconduct that you referred to a second ago. But not only that, also because he's such a heavy partisan. He still has his campaign website up that solicits donations. That's the kind of thing that would be completely anathema to the Inspector General community.
And so the idea of inspector generals is whatever the administration is doing, whoever the president is, what's going on, if something is going wrong, report it, reveal it, and not worry about whether you get a call from the White House or not.
That's
Now you got Wisconsin results up there.
The ones who can speak truth to power. We are there to provide oversight, independent, fair, objective, independent oversight.
I hate his
over
hair.
Federal agencies. We're basically the taxpayers representing.
What's wrong with his
inside
hair?
the Federal agency. And the key to our success, Major, is that we're not political. We are not tied to an administration. And that allows us, that gives us the flexibility to comment both positively and negatively about government programs without fear of getting fired. And that's the key issue here is this individual, and by the way, the nominee for the Health and Human Services Agency is also in the same
Inspector General.
Correct. Is both of them are very problematic. Both of them have substantiated ethics issues and are not competent in other ways.
And these inspector generals reflect a consensus that previously existed between Congress and presidents. As the bureaucracy grew, Congress wanted a watchdog, and presidents said, you know what, it's probably a good idea that I don't have a partisan calling balls and strikes on what my bureaucracy is doing.
That's exactly right. The inspectors general actually started under George Washington before the United States of America existed. It was there in the Army to make sure the training was up to snuff. And frankly, I think Washington would be rolling over his grave if he saw these types of nominations. This is exactly the opposite of what we want to be doing. These folks are supposed to be, under the IG Act, are supposed to be nominated without regard to political affiliation and on the basis of integrity. It actually uses that word.
Self-righteous indignation.
Both of these nominees for both Labor Department and for HHS Both of them have ethical clouds over them, and I would suggest these are not competent. The Senate has to step up.
Whatever, Augie. Minty, welcome in.
And when the president, in the one time he referred to future nominees he would put in these inspector general roles, said he would install new people and they would have some independence.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, that is very troubling for both of these nominees at Labor and HHS. They are heavy, heavy partisans. One of them, the one for HHS, let me read you a couple of quotes. One, he was quoted in the Washington Post. Someone was quoted about him, calling him, quote, a political operative. Another person said he specializes in shades of truth. Mind you, this is not in a positive way saying that the person was nuanced. This was talking about shades of truth as in not being truthful. And the state auditor found that he violated state policy and misspent $8,000 for another political colleague in the Virginia state government. And so these are absolutely not the type of people.
All right, one last story before I get out of here, because I ordered pizza. I'm even going to stick around for Wisconsin results, because I ordered pizza, because I'm hungry. Sorry, Warlord. This one's going to tickle you, though. This one's going to tickle you. Lauren Boebert confused Oliver Stone with Roger Stone.
Madam Chair, thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Hopefully we can stay on topic for the rest of this hearing. We seem to be wrapping up pretty close here. Mr. Stone, you wrote a book accusing LBJ of being involved in the killing of President Kennedy. Did these most recent releases confirm or negate your initial charge? Being involved in the assassination of President Kennedy.
No, I didn't film it. No, I didn't. If you look closely at the film, there's it accuses the President Johnson of being part of a complicit in a cover-up of the case, but not in the assassination itself, which I don't know.
What do you think that he was complicit with? Yes, sir, I'll get to you.
The cover-up. Well, how about...
We have results in...
Alan Dulles, the head of the CIA, was fired by Kennedy to the commission itself, to the Warren Commission. And he goes to almost every meeting, and he's pretty much in charge of the Warren Commission from the beginning. Alan Dulles. That's part of the evidence that points to President Johnson's
from one county
incompetence or involvement.
Mr. Morley, I think you had something to add on that.
I think you're confusing Mr. Oliver Stone with Mr. Roger Stone.
I haven't stated it yet. Sorry.
It's Roger Stone who implicated LBJ in the assassination of the president. It's not my friend
Is that what
Oliver
all the whispers
Stone.
were there? I may have misinterpreted that, and I apologize for that. But there seems to be some alluding of, like you said, incompetence or some sort of involvement there on the back end. And so not accused. So I'm going to move on. Mr. Morley, I would like to talk more about the CE 399. And
Lauren Boebert is a dumb fuck.
The American people to know what's in there, that what was recently released, how that lines up to this, and how we could get more clarity there.
I'm not familiar with the number that you mentioned.
Mr. D.
Are you talking about Commission Exhibit 399?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has no goddamn idea what's going on.
I yield my time to Jim.
All right.
I have more questions for you too, Mr. Morley.
The Commission Exhibit 399 has a very wild trajectory, which I think any person familiar with ballistic, would question in the first place. Then the second place is it has a very, very dubious chain of custody. All right, from
Here's another honey badger. I've been kind of wild about the honey badgers recently. Currently, the Republican is up, but it is very early on. If you were watching on Twitch, you are going to head over to Carla. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I promise you I'll do a long show tomorrow night. We'll do all kinds of fucking news. I'm going to go eat pizza. Good night, everybody.